Kevin, we could start with your first sort of interest in Dylan Thomas.
My first interest, I suppose, at school, I would have been brought up with plenty of Dylan Thomas, West Glamorgan Youth Theatre, did Under Milkwood years ago. My extended family, near San Stefan, would have known him and his family, Fernhill, etc. So I was very aware of him, as I was aware of other poets as well.
In your film Twin Town, you have a scene at the beginning which mentions Dylan Thomas's Ugly Lovely Town.
Yeah, Twin Town, my first feature, featured a bit of reference to Dylan Thomas, in that he called it an ugly lovely town, and then one of the characters in the film turned that on its head and called it a pretty shitty city. So there was a play on words there, and we used the ambition as critical thing, and we referenced him in Twin Town.
Yeah. Well, I suppose any film about Swansea has to reference Dylan Thomas, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the film happened to be set in Swansea, but you couldn't do it without reference.
How long has this version of Under Milkwood been in the gestation period?
Well, we're filming Under Milkwood now as a feature film. I suppose it's been in the pipeline for about 2.5 years. So about 2.5 years ago I decided it was appropriate to give it a go. As you probably know, the licensing kind of scenario has been very, very difficult because of the trust and the way that the copyright is structured. So it was a huge struggle to eventually get hold of the film rights to make it, but we got there just in the nick of time to make it in time for the end of the centenary year. Which is
it's a film that you're recording in two languages, is that right?
We're shooting in 2 languages, back to back. We're shooting a Welsh version, Dan y Wenallt, which is a very good adaptation. I wouldn't call it a translation, it's an adaptation.
Is that from the Jim Jones?
Jim Jones, which is very good. So we're shooting that. The screenplay remains the same, that myself and 2 other guys have written. So in terms of the language delivery, that's in Welsh for S4C, for their TV broadcast. So they finance some of the movie, and then the English version is for international theatrical cinema distribution.
How difficult is it to shoot back to back in 2 languages?
Shooting back to back is not that difficult. It's purely logistic, time-wise. It's not as difficult with this. It's more difficult with procedural, endless 2-3-handed dialogue scenes. It's difficult because you've got to, it's quite complicated. This has so much visual imagery that can suit both languages, and a lot of voiceover. So it's actually not as bad.
It's always surprised me that S4C haven't done that many back-to-back languages.
Well, S4C haven't had to, because they were, they had financing to that has now reached a point where they possibly have to rethink the future and start making stuff possibly bilingually, back to back, and compete in the international marketplace to survive.
Would you consider that the Andrew Sinclair version of Under Milkwood is a little twee?
The original version was different to ours. I mean, it's of its time. The original version is very preoccupied with celebrity, for a start. Burton, Taylor, O'Toole, etc. I think, I like some of the things in it, to be honest. I mean, but it's a difficult one, really, to reference other renditions. There's only been one film rendition anyway, that one. But I think it possibly suffers from a common ailment of the piece, really, which, especially in this country, where the sex, the visceral, erotic energy, sexual energy is swept under the carpet. That's the thing I find most stunning about watching the piece of work, whether it's in theatre, TV, whatever, in this country. Not that I've seen it abroad. I know there's been some pretty radical renditions internationally, but I'm always pretty stunned at how the sex is swept under the carpet. I just don't understand how you can possibly do this narrative prose any justice by not featuring. I just don't. It's all there. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're not trying to be shocking for the sake of. We've thought very carefully about what we're doing. It's been a very lengthy developmental sort of journey. Yeah, it's in the text. It's there. We're not making any of it up. It is this piece of text is inhabited by pure filth. A lot of the time, and religion.
You have Rhys Evans as the first voice. Has Rhys been involved in the development of the film other than in his role as first voice?
Rhys has been involved in the development, yeah. We myself and Rhys, Murray Lachlan-Young, poet and a sort of metaphysics guru, for want of a better word, got together a good while ago and discussed it at length and developed it through a sort of process and reccied the locations together. So yeah, Rhys has been very much part of its development. He wasn't part of the writing stage, that was the three of us. But of course he's playing first voice, so we're working very closely together all the time. He's here for the entire shoot. So yeah, he's been very involved.
Is it the problem then of most productions that the voice of Burton set the scene for them and people just try to imitate Burton as first voice?
Yeah, I mean, we've got that, Burton was Burton had a voice which was it had a delivery which was of a generation. And I see no reason to replicate that. I'm not interested in, that RSC received English delivery was of its time. This film is of this time. So we're going to do a lot of work on the voice. I mean, it involves a lot of voice work and execution of poetry, but no, Rhys will deliver. I'm sure. Rhys isn't trying to compete with Richard Burton.
Well, I think that's
we're just not interested. I'm not. What do I think about previous? Some of them are great, some of them are appalling. I mean, it just doesn't matter. We've started from scratch. We can only do our best.
Yeah. Isn't that one of the problems with most productions? Is that Burton set the voice, and other people try to think they have to do the same voice.
Yeah, exactly. And we are engaging a bit of the original flavour of language, because our second voice in this production is the voice of Dylan Thomas. So we're always grounding it in that kind of landscape of the time. But that's it. It's the only time we do it. Rhys won't be trying to mimic Richard Burton, not that he'd think he could, But yeah, I mean, we're using. This is a dream as far as we're concerned. The entire thing is Dylan Thomas's dream. In our narrative approach, we've made that narrative decision from day one. This is all, if you like, post-coital dreaming, a dream within a dream sometimes.
Is that why I spotted Dylan Thomas's cross on his grave earlier?
Which cross?
All right. Well, Kevin, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We will look forward to the Welsh version.
Yeah, I'm excited about the Welsh version.
And then look forward to
the Welsh version with English subtitles.
We'll have subtitles as well.
Well, that'll be an interesting, for English non-Welsh speakers to hear the Welsh and then have the text.
Are you a Welsh speaker?
Dwi'n siarad, ddim yn rhugl eto. Dwi'n dysgu Cymraeg yn Llanbed, Pont Steffan. Ddim yn 2 mis o gwbl. Ti'n deall fi?
Great, thank you very much.